Outro video para ti hoy. So the Miami Dolphins got annihilated by the Baltimore Ravens last night on the road. Thursday Night Football. I watched the entire game, and I have no idea why. I fall asleep during some of these sporting events when it's like, razor thin scoring margin, or like last week, the Chiefs and the Raiders, which was a really good game and very close. But this game, I don't fall asleep even though it was complete blowout. This is the first time I've watched either team this year. After this loss, Miami is 4-3. The Ravens are 4-4. Believe it or not, Miami, even though they have a better, calculated record, are in third place in their division, whereas the Baltimore Ravens are in second place in their division, the AFC North. Joe Flacco was injured in the second half. I did not think that was a dirty or nasty hit by that linebacker from Miami. I don't even think he should have gotten a penalty. He received a 15-yard rush or roughing the passer. I've been watching NFL football since the late 70s. I don't know why these quarterbacks are pampered the way they are. Back in the 60s, even back in the 60s, if you think that was dirty, you need to watch the games from the 50s and 60s and even the 70s. These quarterbacks were not pampered back then. Even back when I started watching NFL football. No. How come running backs and wide receivers aren't pampered? They get pounded every game. I could understand a field goal kicker or a punter getting protected because that's not their role. Their role is not to get tackled. Their role is not to get steamrolled over, a 250-pound linebacker. But for whatever reason, these quarterbacks that are the size of linebackers now and linemen, they get, pampered. I don't understand it. So I did not think that should have been a penalty, and I do not think that that was a dirty, nasty play. But moving on. These two teams in certain offensive categories statistically are the last two teams in the NFL, meaning the worst two teams. Miami could not run against the Ravens, even though they have one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. The first play of the game, they rushed for 21 yards, and that was about it because they only gained 45 total yards on the ground for the entire game. So that first play was about half of their rushing yards for the entire game. Offensively, Miami could not move the ball. They look as bad as Denver. Even though Denver is 3-3, to me they're not statistically the worst offense, but I watched every one of their games. They have a horrible offense. So both teams, for I would say about half the game, played without both of their starting quarterbacks since Joe Flacco was injured in the second quarter. Jay Cutler is still recovering from multiple not fractures, but not broken ribs, but rib injuries. He's supposed to return, I think, against the Oakland Raiders, not this Sunday, but the next Sunday, so about a week and a half. Matt Moore passed for 176 yards, but he threw 45 passes. Well, they couldn't run the ball. Miami couldn't. He was, I think, 24 for 45 and 176 yards, no touchdowns. He threw 2 interceptions, and Baltimore scored on both of those interceptions. They missed an extra point. So really, basically, Baltimore's offense scored 27 points. Their defense scored, 13, since they missed an extra point. But still, 27 points is a lot for Baltimore because these two teams are not very good offensively. Anything further about this game? I don't get into the bashing and the internet drama and the trolls and, Miami sucks. They only beat one team with a winning record. Who cares about the fact that they won 13 out of 17? They have the third most wins in the NFL, like in the last year, or if you count the last 17 games, Miami has the third most wins in the NFL. To me, a win is a win. It doesn't matter. My point is that when you look up the statistics of the 0-7 San Francisco 49ers and the 0-7 Cleveland Browns, guess what? Most of the San Francisco 49ers losses have been by 3 points on average. In Cleveland, 4 of their losses were only by 3 points. And Cleveland has never been blown out like Miami was, and neither have San Francisco. So you could argue that, well, Cleveland could have won 4 games. In 4 of their losses, they only lost by a field goal. And San Francisco is quite similar. Most of their games are close, and that includes road games. But still, a win is a win to me in the NFL. I don't get into that, well, strength of record crap, or, well, you beat every team that had a losing record and you could only beat one team that had a winning record. Who cares? You're supposed to beat those that have a inferior record. You're supposed to beat teams that have less wins than you, right? Aren't you? Or do you want to become the Denver Broncos, and in the last 2 weeks they've lost to an 0-5 team and they lost to a 2-4 team? But I don't get into that. A win to me is a win in the NFL. Adios.